Hello, welcome to lesson 12 of the Hebrew course, which is about exercise 10 in the material. Exercise 10 is about the so-called consecutive forms. Well, they're called many times, they have many different names. Here we'll just stick to the traditional name, which is not very precise, but it's still the traditional name. So we've seen now all the major verbal forms, in a sense, at least in terms of morphology. We have two more tenses in Hebrew. We have the so-called consecutive perfect and the consecutive imperfect. They are modeled on the perfect and imperfect, if you look at it that way. Originally they looked different, but they came to be, they developed into being identical with the perfect and imperfect, but the difference is that they have a vav in front of them. So the consecutive perfect is characterized by, it's a completely regular perfect, but with a vav in front of it, and the imperfect is a completely regular imperfect, but with a va in front. Now look at it very simplistically. Sort of the perfect and imperfect changes meaning, switches meaning, if when they're consecutive. So lakach would be he took, it's a perfect, but velakach would be he will take, he should take, and so on. Whereas, for instance, shalach, or let's say yishlach, that's an imperfect, he will send. If you have a va in front of vayishlach, it means he sent. So the vav there still retains its meaning of and, but it also indicates that we have a different form. It's great because you don't have to learn other verbal forms, but it can be slightly confusing that suddenly there's a change of meaning almost. Now let's look at some of the examples in sentence 1. Ata pentishlach ha'adam et yado velakach me'etz ha'chayim ve'achal vayishlach Yahweh oto migan Eden. And now, lest the man stretches out his hand and takes from the tree of life and eats, Yahweh sent him from the Garden of Eden. So the third word there, tishlach, is a common imperfect, lest he should stretch out his hand, in order that he does not stretch out his hand. Velakach is a consecutive perfect, and ve'achal at the end of the line is also a consecutive perfect. Now the consecutive perfect is actually a consecutive form in the sense that it takes on the meaning of the preceding verb. So pentishlach is sort of lest he stretches out, so the consecutive perfects following simply follow he stretches out his hand. Lest he stretches out his hand and takes and eats. Then we have vayishlach, that's a consecutive imperfect. And he sent, Yahweh sent, or so Yahweh sent. So actually the most common, the by far most common narrative form, you can call it the narrative form per se, in biblical Hebrew, is the consecutive imperfect. All the sort of the main points of the narrative will be told in consecutive imperfect. All background information will come in other tenses, often perfect, but all the sort of the main action, the main narrative thread is kept exclusively, almost exclusively, in consecutive imperfect. Sentence 2. Vayikbru hamaim al haaretz me'od, vayikva kol basar haromes al haaretz, vayizkor Elohim et Noach ve'et kol hachaya ve'et kol habehema asher ito bateva. And the waters grew big on the earth a lot, and all flesh that moved on the earth died, And God remembered Noah and all the beings, all the animals, and all the, or actually all the wild animals, sorry, and all the cattle which was with him in the ark. Regular use of the consecutive imperfect as a narrative, the main narrative verb. 3. Yahweh natan le'Avraham ul'ishto tzon uvakar v'chesef v'zahav vayigdelu me'od. Yahweh gave to Abram and to his wife sheep and cattle and silver and gold, and they grew very big, or meaning they grew very rich. 4. Vayivra Elohim et ha'or vayikra la'or yom. And God created the light, and he called the light day. 5. Hine anochi olech el bnei Yisrael ve'amarti lahem Elohi avotechem shalach oti elechem ve'amru li mashmo. Behold, I will go to the sons of Israel, and I will say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you, and they will say to me, what is his name? 6. Mil'u et ha'aretz uchvashtem ota. Fill the earth and conquer it. 7. Amar Yahweh el Kain, kol demei achicha zoakim elai min ha'adama, ata aro ata. Yahweh said to Cain, the voice of the, not the voice, here kol does not mean voice, it actually is it's an interjection meaning listen. Listen, the blood of your brother is shouting to me from the ground. Now you are cursed. Now the blood here is in the plural, probably because it's been blood as such is generally in the singular, but spilt blood here probably is in the plural. Demei achicha, blood of your brother, tzoakim are shouting. We have to say is shouting, of course, in English, to me. Arur, cursed, of course, the passive participle. And that's it for this lesson. Thank you.